Welcome everyone to the Eugene City Council meeting for September 26th. First up is the public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues, except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official or are on tonight's agenda as a public hearing. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. When you come to the podium, please give your name, city of residence, and for Eugene residents, your ward if you know it. The timer and lights indicate the time you have to speak. The red light indicates the end of 3 minutes. And we have 18 people signed up. First up is Jennifer Frenzer Knowlton, followed by Lori Powell.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jennifer Frenzer Knowlton, and I'm in Betty Taylor's ward. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Eugene Human Rights Commission. I have a letter for you that was submitted by email, and I'll read it this evening. Ken Newbeck sends his regards. He would have been here tonight, but he injured his foot a little bit. We let him stay home. Dear Mayor Piercy and City Council members, at our September 20th, 2016 meeting, the Eugene Human Rights Commission unanimously voted to support the proposed draft resolution on Standing Rock and to express the Commission's support for Eugene residents who have traveled there to exercise their civil and human rights to peacefully assemble and protest. On behalf of the Eugene Human Rights Commission, we respectfully request your support of the proposed draft resolution in support of the Standing Rock Nation, tribal nation of North Dakota, and of the Eugene community members who have traveled to stand by the people of Standing Rock and other tribal nations gathered with them. Locally, a consortium of community members, Native Americans and allies, including those active in shepherding the successful Indigenous Peoples Day efforts last year, have crafted the proposed draft resolution in support of Standing Rock. We believe this resolution faithfully captures the content and spirit of a grassroots human rights effort that impacts us nationally and locally. Signed, Jennifer Frenzer and Ken Newbeck, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Lori Powell, followed by Jim New.
Hi, good evening, councilors and city manager. My name is Lori Powell. I live in Eugene in Ward 1, and I'm a member of 350 Eugene. I'm here tonight concerning the Climate Recovery Ordinance. By way of review, the goal of the CRO is to establish systematic aggressive reductions in carbon dioxide emissions across city operations and our community. I would like to again thank the council for its unanimous approval of this summer's amendment to the CRO targeting science-based reductions, meaning we need to reduce our emissions by approximately 7.6% each year starting as soon as possible. And I also commend the city for its concrete steps in reducing CO2 already in its operations, including use of electric vehicles as part of its fleet. And I would like to commend Mayor Piercy and Councilor Zelenka for the current information ad hoc committee to support the city manager's office in its work on the CRO, including a community-informed plan establishing clear targets and benchmarks for CO2 reductions. The CRO is part of a broader movement to keep 80% of known fossil fuels reserves in the ground to avoid the catastrophic effects of climate change. This includes the urgent need to stop investing in fossil fuel infrastructure such as LNG pipelines and oil by rail, which brings me to my final point. Imagine if even one of the recently derailed cars in West Eugene had contained highly flammable Bakken crude oil, the kind that killed 47 people in Lac Mégantic, Quebec, 3 years ago. And imagine if these cars had been on the main rail line rather than a spur. The images that come to mind are truly horrible. But we know that Bakken crude and other flammable forms of fossil fuels come through our city on a regular basis. It can't be overstated. This is an all-hands-on-deck emergency, CRO, oil by rail, you name it. we just are so proud to be a part of a city that believes and can put the energy behind getting this done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up is Jen New, followed by Ellen Winchinowski.
Mayor and Council, my name is Jim New. I'm in Ward 7. The rail industry continues to ship volatile and hazardous materials in rail tank cars that were designed to haul corn syrup and have not been updated to meet the NTSB standards. The 2008 Railroad Safety Act compliance standards, which address rail car deficiencies in track safety, have been extended until 2018, and the deadline date still may not be met. Meanwhile, the railroad industry plays Russian roulette every time a train comes through Eugene with a tank car full of volatile and flammable hazardous materials. Last night, the Whitaker, Train Song, Bethel, and South River Road neighborhoods in the city of Eugene dodged a bullet with the train derailment that consisted of a hazardous fossil fuel product, propane. Propane, according to the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, has an evacuation zone of 1/2 mile for derailment with no leakage or fire, and 1 mile if there is a fire or explosion. There are many factors that could attribute to last night's derailment: operator error, length of train, excessive weight, slosh factor, or a rail and track bed failure. Union Pacific and the Federal Railroad Administration will do an investigation and will let us know what was the cause, or will they? The railroad does not have to tell anyone when a unit train of hazardous material is coming through Eugene, or what is on the train, or when they last inspected their track or bridges. It seems implementation of the Climate Recovery Ordinance and the Community Climate and Energy Action Plan is of the essence. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen Winchinowski is next, followed by Phil Schoenherr.
Hello, Eugene City Council. My name is Ellen Wisnowski. I'm a Eugene resident in Ward 3. My daughter Katie is currently a 7th grader at the new Roosevelt facility. The new school is well designed, but the parking lot plan and transportation plan on the street in front of the school on East 24th has created a hazard for students walking and biking in the area. I have approached the city traffic engineer, Matt Rodriguez, and the city pedestrian planner, Reed Dunbar, but they do not see it as a priority this year, even though student safety is at stake. The city engineer and planners located the main crosswalk across from Patterson. Pressure on Patterson at the parking lot opening causes motorists to dart in front of the traffic lane, creating a dangerous intersection for students. The city is not planning on relocating the crosswalks this year at all. 4J offered to extend the widened sidewalk in front of the new Roosevelt all the way to Hilliard, or leave more space for a single larger two-way bike lane. The city refused, favoring their plan for a two-sided bikeway instead. The development of the new Roosevelt site is good for the city. The Public Works exclusion of student safety and best practices for multi-use is bad. The city's goal of providing bikeways is important, but it is not legal to pursue that goal to the exclusion of student safety and function. This area needs more than simply removing street parking and restriping. It needs to function. The City Public Works Office has remained closed in their process and has refused to turn over documents relating to the proposed design. Meeting notes with neighbors who objected have been refused or denied. Southeast neighbor members, parents at Roosevelt, the VLT, and 4J have all objected to the current plan and have made suggestions to make this area better, but were refused or ignored by the City Public Works Office. The city needs to immediately relocate the crosswalk away from the Patterson opening to a position closer to the front door of RMS. I request the Cycleway project be tabled and that public hearings be open to gather more input from the community that the city actually considers. The city had 3 years to design a plan for all users. They failed. They decided that students, the disabled, motorists, and pedestrians were less important on East 24th Avenue than the wants of cyclists. Student safety needs to be primary in that area. Now is the time to plan for that space to be usable and safe for all citizens, especially the students at Roosevelt. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil Schoenherr is next, followed by David Lemon.
My name is Phil Schoenherr, and I live at 2365 Chambers, and I'm in Mr. Brown's circuit or district. My I love Eugene and I want to be proud of Eugene. But there is a property on 7th Avenue between Monroe and Madison, which is very distressing. I pass that property every morning as I take my wife to work. I have talked to the owner. He's upset with the city. And so he has signs all over his property, thumbing the nose at you people, thumbing the nose at the businesses that surround his building, and thumbing his nose at all of the people that pass on 7th Avenue every day. I came from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and in Fort Wayne, when there was a property that was dilapidated, the city would condemn it, and it would be torn down. I've talked to the people who are in the atrium building, and they say, we have no authority. It's up to the council. I hope that you don't let this owner continue to get away with this. I want to be proud of our city. And that brings me to the other point. We are so tolerant of those who stand on the corner with signs saying, anything helps, God bless. And then there is a little number, 4:20. So I, who was once a pastor, walked up to one of these fellas once and asked, is that a Bible verse? He said, no, I want marijuana. I know that we're tolerant of these people and we think that we need to give them everything under the sun. But why do we tolerate these people asking for marijuana? Thank you.
Next up is David Lemon, followed by Lisa Vertufo.
My name is David Lemon. I live at 465 Almaden Street, Eugene. Claire Surratt is my council representative. I'd like to take you on a walk to a green, grassy plot of land, shaded by a canopy of mature trees. Now, at first glance, a seemingly pleasant and inviting space. But upon closer observation, something is askew. Something's not right. There's a group of people lying about at the back of the property. Backpacks are strewn around haphazardly, belongings piled in heaps. Off to the side, there's a person dismantling a bike to part it out and make a few dollars. I suspect this one is probably recently stolen. Paper, food, containers, and garbage litter the ground. I look off in another direction, and there's a man sitting on the grass, mumbling incoherently and gesturing to an invisible listener. Out by the sidewalk and partially blocking it are two people, either sleeping or passed out. One is cocooned in a dirty, ripped and torn sleeping bag. The other has no covering, just laying stretched out, partly on the sidewalk and partly on the adjacent grass. I see two pit bulls running around off leash, helter-skelter around the property, while another person is sitting, leaning against the fence, swaying back and forth, gazing off into space. And taking a few more steps, there is something I spied discarded in the bushes. Hypodermic needles. Oh yes, and let's not forget the odors. Urine and human feces. Just watch your step. And lastly, there's a guy sitting in a car at the curb, waiting patiently for his next score. Now, as I turn to leave this place, there's a tug on my arm. As I look down at my 3-year-old granddaughter, she asked me, "Grandpa, why are we leaving? I want to play in the park." Shrugging my shoulders, I'm temporarily at a loss for words. How do I explain this to a 3-year-old? I've not been taking a stroll in a third world, underdeveloped country. This is the United States. This is Oregon. This is Eugene. and this is Scobert Park in the Whitaker. This park, along with others in the city, have been hijacked. Sadly, it's not a place where tax-paying citizens can enjoy themselves.
Thank you. Lisa Vertuvo is next, followed by Sophia Loft.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. My name is Lisa Vertulfo, and I'm in the Ward 3. I'm here tonight to inform the council of the growth of the sport of water polo in the Eugene-Springfield area. Water polo is one of the fastest growing high school sports in the country, and we have had a lot of success recently in growing the sport in Eugene. 6 years ago, we formed a club called Eugene City Water Polo. It's a 501c3, and at this time we have 85 members. We have a master's program that you're all invited to join and try at some point. We have a high school, both boys and girls team, a 14 and under, so a middle school team, and we've recently this year started a splash ball program, which is introducing water polo to 5 to 10-year-olds. You know, one of the reasons that water polo is so important in this area is that it's one of the few sports where high schoolers can start a sport and actually play on their high school team and be competitive. You know, many high schools, if you're going to be on the soccer team or the volleyball team, you had to have been playing for years in order to make those varsity teams. But water polo is really accessible to everyone. It's a sport where this year within the high school teams we have more women than men playing, and so it's really accessible to both genders. It's accessible to all abilities, and it's really one of the more important, I think, sports in this community. One of the reasons that I'm here tonight is just to explain that we're limited in growing water polo because of the lack of year-round pool space. When Amazon closes, our high school teams move out to Echo Hollow, and they practice from 8:30 to 10 p.m. at night all winter long. So when it's snowing, when it's raining, and it's very dark. But that's the pool space that we have to work with, and so we work out there. Our middle school team practices in the diving well at Sheldon Pool. So you have about 20 kids in a very small area with balls, and so it's, you know, the lack of indoor pool space or outdoor pool space throughout the year is a real hindrance to the growth of the area. So I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you. Sophia Loft is next, followed by Lottie Ray Stewart.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Sophia Loff, and I live in Ward 7 in Eugene. I am 16 years old and have been swimming competitively on Team Eugene Aquatics for 7 years. I'm a junior at South Eugene High School and have swam on the high school team since my freshman year as well. Through my wonderful experience on swim team, I've had many leadership opportunities. I regularly volunteer and coach with our 10 and under group. I help develop our Team Unity program, which allows older athletes to mentor younger ones, and am currently team athlete representative. Just last week, I applied to have a seat on our team's board of directors, and I also just applied to be junior athlete representative for all of Oregon. Through swimming, I've had access to these impactful leadership opportunities. The legacy of Title IX has resulted in more leadership opportunities for women within the sport of swimming. Even though swimming is considered a gender-neutral sport, there are over more than double the number of women's swim teams in college than men's teams because Title IX has allowed colleges to balance the athlete participation. Therefore, a lack of swimming resources in the city of Eugene affects women's leadership and participation opportunities more than it does a man's. With this in mind, increasing access to swimming in the Eugene metro area for all potential swimmers will lead to an increase in leadership opportunities, particularly for young women. During the winter months, when Amazon Pool is closed, there's a significant lack of adequate pool space in the Eugene metro area. For example, South's high school swim team practiced at the YMCA until this year. Last year, there were 11 people per lane in a 4-lane pool. This increases chances for injury and decreases the quality of coaching available for these swimmers. I can say personally I've swum in these lanes, and I have many teammates who have been hurt because of these crowded conditions. By seasonally covering Amazon Pool for use during the winter season, like they do at Mount Hood Community College, the City of Eugene would be able to show a renewed commitment to the development of athletes and leaders. I urge you to take on this project, which will undoubtedly provide positive impacts for our entire community. Thank you.
Thank you. Lottie Ray Stewart is next, followed by Richard Sunt.
Good evening. My name is Lottie Ray Stewart, and I am a swimmer at Churchill High School, and I'm also a board member with my club, Emerald Aquatics. There's a talent I have which has become my identity at school, and that is my participation in swimming. Many of my friends call me a fish, and they see my swim shirts and swim gear. They see my dedication, they know I love the sport. But why? Why, they ask, do I love swimming so much? My reply is, swimming is so important to me because I'm always trying to beat myself, beat the slower, less experienced me. Trying to pursue a better version of myself, it has taught me sportsmanship, responsibility, discipline, confidence, dedication, and much, much more. Without swimming, my life would be empty. Yes, I'd probably fill it up with some other hobby or activity, but I love what I'm doing now. And nothing has more satisfaction for me than seeing the results from my swimming. Because of swimming, I am fit in all aspects. For example, my health and emotions. My health is great because I'm more conscious of what I eat and how to keep my body in shape while not trying to overstress it. As for my emotions, I can go in the pool where I can either just do my strokes, turn off my mind, let my mind wander, or pummel the water with my agitation. My coach helps me get through the hard times by telling me everyone can have a bad swim, but there's no reason to stop and not pursue your goals. When I get my goal, she'll tell me, nice job, Lottie, you got your goal. Now get a new goal. I thank her for her mentorship and support. Also, all of my dearest and closest friends are on the team. Such as the early morning workouts at 6 a.m., they're there for me and they support me during that time. When I don't get the results from my swim meets and it's a slower time than what I want, they're there to comfort me and to make sure I know this is not the end. But why am I here speaking to you today? It's to tell you that swimming is so meaningful to me because of the aforementioned reasons, and I wouldn't be the same without it. Swimming is my identity and talent that is so meaningful to me that my life wouldn't be complete without it. Thus, I believe there's a need for greater capacity of aquatic programs and pool space, so others can experience how swimming can affect their lives for the better, like swimming has for mine. And now I know I am only one of many whose lives have changed for the better because of swimming and other aquatic programs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Richard Sunt is next, followed by Vic Harrelson.
Richard Sunt from Ward 2 of Betty Taylor. So I come again before you, and basically I want to just say that I affirm support the Brown Clark initiative of Southwest Alameda from 24th to 29th. And I gave to all of you, I sent this around July, which is basically taking that plan and modifying it here and there, basically east and west, if neighborhoods and other people would approve of that, and to show that there need not be one major cross axis, but there could be another one, like a 27th, that actually makes more people closer to the 20-minute side of things. And so I think that what you have suggested and others, that there is an opportunity to take what had been presented to us and modify it here and there to create something that all of us can live with. So I hope that this may not be the best idea, but but I do try to show why I think one can approach it in a somewhat different way, and that if we all come together and think about these things, we'll get a richer and better plan that can be not only used here, but in other places as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Vic, you're up.
Thank you all for letting me speak. I'm Vic Harrington. I am chair of Southwest Hills Neighborhood Association, co-chair of Council of South Eugene Neighborhoods. but I'm here for me. Talking for me. I'm in Betty Taylor's ward. I got to say, before I even start this, I'm really encouraged by these high school students that are coming up here. I am encouraged for the future for them. You know, you start thinking at our age, it's like, oh, we're the last of it. No, there's some really smart kids here. Anyhow, all right. And I also want to note Councilor Surratt, I don't know if she's listening. I hope she does well. I'm not sure it is, but I wish her well. What I heard from today's work session, I'm very encouraged that y'all might be trusting the local neighbors in driving what they want to see and have around their homes with the refinement plan. As mentioned, and I believe Councilors Pryor and Evans, you spoke about other neighbors should have the same opportunities. Yes, they should. Of course, I went off script again. But they should have a voice in their own neighborhood. I think it's really important. You know, the citywide policies, yeah, direct the citywide, you know, have the bowling alley put a 2-story rental properties above it. I mean, let's keep things in the commercial area, protect the homeowners. I became chair of the SENA because I want to take care of my neighbors. I love my neighbors. And I just want to thank y'all, and that's really why I'm here tonight. I want to speak tonight. I want to thank you all for what I'm hearing so far. Let's finish the South Willamette rezoning piece. Let's do this with the local neighbors. Let's not have the outside parties in there. Let's keep the lobbyists out. Let's keep the money interests out. Let's do this for the neighbors and let them decide what they want to do. And yes, it's got to be guided with city, and there'll be people from all sides in this. But I think it's doable. So thank you again, and I hope to see you soon on other issues.
Next up is Christine Sun, followed by Sandy Shotridge.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christine Sund, and I'm in Betty Taylor's ward. I have just a few points to make this evening. While my public testimony at last week's Mayor's Forum was about enforceability by property owners of existing CC&Rs in South Willamette, I want to be officially on record as supporting the community's refinement plan directive for this area. A refinement plan is a required legal element for any major future planning or development in the city. The city's first priority is to protect property owners, renters, and businesses from unwanted and inappropriate building that compromises the city's 7 pillars of Envision Eugene, resulting in harm in neighborhoods and its residents. This can be averted by a council-authorized refinement plan. I further support the Brown-Clark initiative and hope that it can become a successful framework for improvements in the South Willamette Street Business District between 24th and 29th that residents of this area have wanted for decades. Let's start the process and work sensibly. I would like to reinforce the South Willamette neighbors' testimony presented during the Mayor's Forum. While one person, Margie James, testified as SWN's official representative, she brought forward the voices of many concerned and actively involved neighbors who commented on our survey, signed our petition, and asked questions or made statements during our conversation about neighbors with Terry Harding. At a time when size and numbers matter, please be sure that all of the SWN voices are counted, not just those who had spare time to attend the meeting. My fourth point is to thank Councilor Pryor for bringing up the word clarity during the work session. This is perhaps one of the most important first steps that we all need to take in moving forward. Without clarity, without knowing where we're going, what words mean, what the benchmarks are, where the numbers are, we are going to be taking steps backwards rather than forwards. So thank you for making that suggestion. We approve entirely. Finally, please correct the minutes of the September 19th City Council meeting to reflect the fact that the meeting took place at South Eugene High School
Right,
rather than at Harris Hall.
right.
That's it for tonight. Thank you again.
Thank you. Next up is Sandra Shotridge, followed by Sue Saralupe.
Hi, my name is Sandra Shotridge. I believe in Greg Evans' ward. I'm here to see if the Eugene City Council would adopt a resolution stating solidarity for the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe in opposing the Dakota Access Pipeline. I know it's a long ways away, but there's a lot of people there from Eugene. It's almost like a pilgrimage that's being made right now. There are people packing donations of winter gear, tents, sleeping bags, and we are facing checkpoints. When I got close to where it was we were camping, I got stopped by a state trooper and the National Guard, and it was very overwhelming for me. This is what a lot of Eugenians are facing right now. I had the state trooper put his head inside my car and search my car without just cause and ask me questions like, have you been drinking? There was no indication that I'd been drinking. And I looked at him and I said, absolutely not. He said, oh, well, good. He was very condescending. If you were drinking, you would have them drive, wouldn't you? And I just can't tell you how overwhelming that was. I've done public speaking before, and I have worked with the public, but even in that kind of a situation, it was scary. But less than a week after I left the first time, security guards took some dogs and they literally threw them at people that were protesting, including a pregnant woman. There's people from this city over there right now. They're isolated with violent security guards. And I'm thinking that it's going to be almost no time at all until someone is seriously hurt. I don't trust them, not with the isolation, not with the governor having some vested interest. He has vested interest in some of these corporations.
Thank you. Next up is Sue Saralupe, followed by Ada Ball.
I'm Sue Saralupe, and I am the clinic manager for Occupy Medical, and I live in George Brown's ward. Thank you again for your service, sir. This month marks the 5th anniversary of Occupy Medical. We started as a first aid tent, as I've said many times before, at the park blocks, and we are now a fully operating street clinic. I like bragging about them because they're wonderful folks. There's about 50 to 60 of us, and we serve between 60 to 40 patients every week and feed between 200 to 300 people every Sunday. If you've taken the tour, you've seen the tents that we have set up, and you've seen the bus that we have. And we have been serving regularly for the last 5 years. We weather all kinds of events. We try to treat trench foot in the rain. We treat frostbite in the snow. We treat hypothermia patients on frozen concrete. We pace the ebb and flow of traffic with our need to listen for a pulse. That's the disadvantage of serving on the street. This Sunday, our alliance with Whitebird Clinic has paid off in a way that we did not formerly imagine. We have been offered the free use of their temporarily empty building on 509 East 13th Avenue. We will have a roof, walls, flushing toilets, hot and cold running water, and heat. Not just heat from the sun, but predictable 20th century heat. These are, unfortunately, amenities that, although we've been without, it's something we have in common with the people, half of the people that we serve. This alliance with Whitebird was available to us for 3 months. We are still looking for our ideally suited building a little farther from the University District, but until then we are glorying in the modern luxuries that this building offers us. We would still like to keep the permit at the park blocks on Sundays. We have a trusted relationship with citizens in that area. We'd like to continue making this a safe space for all visitors. We are envisioning a place to give social service information as well as healthcare related topics such as nutrition, hygiene, and safety. So far, this relationship has resulted in a better life for thousands of citizens. We have been instrumental in finding houses for the unhoused simply by offering them a healthy environment and healthy choices that they at that time did not know was available to them. The need is there. We are here to fill it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ada Ball is next, followed by Leslie Robnett.
It's a beautiful day to be here with you all on Kalapuya land. My name is Ada Ball. I currently reside in Ward 8. I'm an enrolled member of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz, and I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the Eugene Springfield Native Organizers Coalition. NOC is a coalition of Native American, Alaska Native, Indigenous youth, community members, and educators from the Springfield and Eugene areas. We work together on various projects and are part of the community-led effort to bring Indigenous Peoples Day to Eugene. I'm here on behalf of NOC to request the city be in support of the resolution that you're going to hear from George Brown tonight. That is stating solidarity for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and stating opposition to the Dakota Access Pipeline, an over 1,000-mile proposed pipeline that threatens to contaminate the Missouri River, the largest river on the North American continent, and that supports an estimated 8 million people from the headwaters to the Gulf of Mexico. I'm very proud of Eugene. I've witnessed around 20 independent community fundraisers for the Standing Rock camps. On my way here tonight, I saw several banners hanging across porches declaring no Dakota Access Pipeline, and have heard of an estimated 100 plus people from Eugene who have visited or who are currently there. And we have seen from the photos and videos shared by people from the front lines that these corporations based on extractive industries with privately hired security dressed in full riot gear and with attack dogs who drew blood from nonviolent people carrying nothing more than signs saying Mini Wachoni, water is life, that we cannot rely on anyone but ourselves, the people, to fight for the future of the next generations and our Mother Earth. What's happening at Standing Rock is just one example, of many of the desecrations of Indigenous sovereignty, land, water, and sacred sites in the United States. From Standing Rock to Oak Flat to Mauna Kea to Northern California, where the Winnemem are currently having a prayer run to free their river and bring home the salmon, to Oregon, from Nestle threatening the Columbia Gorge in Northern Oregon, to the LNG export on the coast, to the Ruby Pipeline in Southern Oregon. Our futures, our Mother Earth is under attack. And Indigenous people, the original protectors, are leading the way for us and urgently need our support. By releasing this resolution stating that the City of Eugene, Oregon stands with Standing Rock and opposes the Dakota Access Pipeline, we are upholding the Eugene vision that values all people and their human and civil rights, sustainability, and justice. Thank you for your time and consideration to release this resolution. Again, you were going to hear that from Councilman Brown, and we 100% support this resolution and have collaborated with him on this. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Leslie Robnett is next, followed by Jeanette Keim.
You're right with that. Seriously? Yeah. My name is Leslie Robinette, and now there's a couple of questions that I got for the city council. All right, we can worry about all that. Okay, we can fix all of the problems, but now let's get to the real point. When the one dude was talking about finding needles and stuff in parks, okay, fine. If you don't want that, okay, or me or the dog sleeping in the park, post another sign for one, not just one, so that people know what they're doing, or build another mission, okay? Portland's got at least 3, okay? Instead of letting this go on, okay? And what's this idea that, oh, officers can shoot dogs? What's up with that? That's wrong and disrespectful. Because last night we was on the streets. This dog got threatened. Now what's up with that? I'm housed now, temporarily, but that will never happen again. Okay? Because what I've been hearing about these police using dogs that are meaner than crap. What's up with that? Okay? Now look at Scoob. You think he's an actual menace? Of course he's going to do a low growl and a low bark. Just like any dog that would actually do it. Okay? But you guys gotta stop, and you guys gotta realize this is not Nazi Germany. They are not wearing Nazi uniforms. We're not back in the 1930s or the 40s. Because if not, you might as well take that flag down and run the German flag. Okay? And you've heard me speak, Katie, in public forum before. And I want it to stop. And you guys have got the power to do it. Okay? I can appreciate the actual other camps that are going on. But the homeless you got kids down here. Okay? Now come on, people. What if we get another hard winter and we're not dealing with the unsanctioned camps anymore because the cops want to be morons, and I'll say it straight out, where is people going to go?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeanette Kime is next, followed by Cindy Allen.
Mayor, Council, my name's Jeanette Kime. I was in Ward 8. I recently just moved to Springfield. And first I want to say thank you for approving the extension of the urban renewal. But I'm not here for that. I moved to Eugene from California in September of 1998. And one of the first things I was told to do was to participate and go to Eugene Celebration and watch the parade. And so I did, and I was hooked. And that weekend I went into the Demi office and I said to Steve Remington, who was running it, how can I get involved and be engaged in my community? And he said, get on the committee, planning committee and the parade committee. And I did. And it was one of the best things that I did. I remember being on the committee right after 9/11, and we were deciding whether we were going to move forward with the event or not, and would it be disrespectful if we did. And we thought really we needed to bring together our community and celebrate what we did have and to move forward with the event. And it was great to see the coming of the community to the parade and the celebration, and to share in what we do have and with our diversity that we have in this community. I was on the Demi board until it disbanded in 2013, which was really sad. It's really expensive to run the event, and particularly the parade. There's no really revenue source for that. And a large expenses from city services, EPD, and public works and permits. In 2014, we met and we thought, you know, I'm not sure if we can have the parade. And Brendan had to meet with the mayor's office to say we aren't going to have the signature event of Eugene. And we were told we'll be able to come up with some money to help with the parade. And thank you very much for doing that. We were able to move forward with the parade that year. And the following year, those funds weren't available. And so there was no parade. The Queens had nothing to march in. It was pretty sad. So I know that there's been more other people coming in forward to talk about trying to bring back the parade, and you would say, why would you care? But I think a majority of the expenses do come from city services, and we're sort of asking for some support in helping either alleviate those costs or helping come up with some money to pay for those services. And we're willing to put on the event again, and we would just like some support. Thank you very much.
Next up is Cindy Allen, followed by Jane Coverdell.
Cindy Allen, Eugene. There were over 80 pages of complicated legalese in the South Willamette Plan that would have much changed long-standing single-family residential neighborhoods. Many of these economically priced homes have gardens and solar access. It was to be the first program for rezoning other Eugene neighborhoods. I have friends who are wanting to look for other homes in Eugene now that their children have left the nest, but they're wondering where in Eugene will not be rezoned, should they be concerned. Investors and corporations, many from other countries, are eagerly looking for the tangible assets of real estate. Rental properties are especially lucrative. We've always had neighborhood-led refinement plans, and we need them more than ever today. People will challenge that which does not seem sensible or logical to them, especially when it involves their homes and their community. The stop rezoning signs were throughout South Eugene, and over 600 people signed a petition showing that they were greatly concerned. The oral testimonies at the forums and the written comments have been very clear. I think much time and city resources could be saved by a neighborhood-led refinement plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Last up, Jane Coverdell.
Hello, my name is Jane Coverdell. I'm not sure of my ward. I'm in between housing at the moment. I was born and raised in Eugene. I'm also a member of an Alaskan tribe. I'm Tlingit. And I'm here to speak in hopes to gain solidarity with the city of Eugene against the North Dakota Access Pipeline. I am a bit nervous, my apologies.
Doing great.
Thank you. I know that there are a number of people that have never even heard of the North Dakota Access Pipeline. So I would like to just say that it is an oil pipeline that will pass through North Dakota through the Sioux Reservation, Standing Rock Reservation. It will also run through a lot of other people's homes. It affects Natives a great deal, and I learned a lot about that as a Native tribal ally. But I know that it will affect Americans a great deal. Canadian, Mexican, United States citizens will all be affected by these kinds of choices. I hear some of the youth here speaking in hopes to be able to swim in a nice place, in a bigger place with nice clean water. And I think that it's amazing to see young people standing up and asking for these kinds of things. And it just kind of, I think, is in tune with the idea that these citizens are also asking for clean water, and in hopes to live healthy, in hopes to have healthy children, in hopes to not have to worry about the health of their elderly, in hopes of having clean land and a clean home. And I come here to ask Eugene to do what it loves, to be an ally for health and safety of all people. I hear that a lot, and along the way I ran into many Eugenians that stood in solidarity. It's very intimidating to go out there. It feels like the federal government doesn't care about the safety of the people there. They care more about the dollar. The U.S. has been told by the United Nations that they need to stop. The world, I believe, recognizes how dangerous this is and how wrong it is to not just the natives, but everyone around that aren't even aware because it has just been blocked on media so much. I think when I saw that the city of Seattle was standing in solidarity, it was like a huge breath of relief. I think if more local governments stood in solidarity, it would speak much louder to the federal government and to the world. And I think it would help.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to close the public forum. And just a couple things that I wanted to share. I want to thank everybody for coming. Every one of your comments is appreciated. City Manager, I am concerned about the safety issues around Roosevelt. So
we'll send something to you.
I appreciate that. And let's see, what else did I wanted to tell you all that maybe, 3 or 4 years ago, our fire chief convened fire chiefs from up and down the rail corridor along with our congressional delegation and police and others to talk about what could we do about flammables going through our area. And as you probably all know, we have limitations about what we can do, but they did manage to get an agreement that our fire department would be told when flammables are coming through our community. They can't tell the public because they don't really want to reveal certain things that might end up being used in a bad way, but they did make that agreement. And they also did a look all across our corridor about where materials were for putting out fires or dealing with emergencies like that, and they found they were kind of in lots of places and not enough in any one place. So they've made it more efficient and worked on it to make it be able to respond in case, and goodness knows I hope we don't have it, but they're better able to respond to an emergency. I'm not saying they could, if it were really bad, I think would be very difficult for us. But I do want you to know we've been on it for several years. And the third piece I would tell you, which is really interesting to me, is that Congress has told them that they need to stop using the rail cars they're using and use safer ones. And they even make those in Springfield here. And yet they haven't. They've been extraordinarily slow in making that transition, and Congress has not been able to hold them accountable to move it along rapidly, because probably most of you know that railroad is kind of an empire unto itself. But I just wanted to tell you those things because actually I live a couple blocks from where the incident happened yesterday, so it's certainly of interest to me. Anybody else have anything they want to say? If not, we'll move on. Thank you all very much. We're going to move on to the next part of our agenda, which would be the consent calendar. Council President?
I move the items on the consent calendar.
Second. Moved and seconded. Seeing no hands, all those in favor, please indicate. 5 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. Okay.
Aye.
Oh, you're there, Councilor Clark. Okay, so that's 6 in.
I've been all along there.
All right. Glad to know that. It's a big listening exercise. I know that. Okay, so 6 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. The next item up is resolution annexing land to the city of Eugene. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. This item is a request to annex a half-acre property located at 160 Howard Avenue. The property is located within the urban growth boundary and is separated from the city only by a public right-of-way. The council approved this consent item at the September 12th meeting, but because comments were made during public forum, a vote was taken to reconsider the item. A notice was sent to neighbors to inform them of the reconsideration occurring this evening.
Okay. And are there any questions?
Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Clark.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, is there any part of any road that is being brought in as a part of this annexation?
You know, I'll ask our staff, Eric, if he can come up and address your questions.
Hi there, I'm Eric Berger-Hansen with the Planning Department. There is no road being annexed with this. The road in front of the house has already been annexed in the city. So,
Thank you, sir, very much. I asked the question only for future reference that I'm generally not in favor of annexing roads without a plan to improve them to a city standard. So thank you.
Okay, so President.
I move to adopt Resolution 5168, which approves the proposed annexation request consistent with the applicable approval criteria.
Second. Moved and seconded.
Talk tonight.
Okay, all those in favor, please indicate. Councilor Clark?
Aye.
Okay, 6 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. Next up, an ordinance extending the rental housing code sunset date and providing for an effective date. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The ordinance in front of council tonight extends the current sunset date of the rental housing code to March 1st, 2017. The extension would allow time for further discussion of housing policy advisory board recommendations. A work session will be scheduled in the fall. If no further action is taken, the ordinance will sunset on September 30th, 2016 and be repealed. And Catherine has a couple other items on this.
So the ordinance in front of you tonight does have an immediate effective date as part of it. And I just want to remind council that the charter requires that there's 6 affirmative votes for something to have an immediate effective date, which means a unanimous vote of the council this evening.
Okay. I move to adopt Council Bill 5158, an ordinance extending the rental housing code sunset date.
Second. Moved and seconded. Councilor Polling.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to vote in favor of the extension. Hopefully, though, between now and the next work session that we have on this issue, that some work be done on maybe crunching some numbers to see about the $10 per door fee, perhaps maybe reducing it, as well as taking into consideration some of the recommendations that was made by the Housing Policy Board for changes to the ordinance.
Okay.
Councilor Brown, did you have your hand up?
I did, but I didn't mean to.
Okay. Okay.
I was, yes.
I think we're ready to vote on this.
Did we get Mike?
All those in, well, he hasn't said anything.
Oh, okay.
All those in favor, please indicate. Councilor Clark?
Aye.
6 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. Next up is a resolution authorizing the institution of proceedings in eminent domain for the acquisition of property interest for the Commerce Street Connector Path and Bridges project. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. The council is requested to adopt a resolution authorizing the institution of proceedings in eminent domain condemnation to acquire the property rights necessary for the construction of the Commerce Street Bridges and Path project, connecting the Fern Ridge Path to the West 11th commercial area. The project is primarily funded through a Connect Oregon grant, and the acquisition of the property is on the critical path leading to a construction in early 2017.
Council President?
May I get in the queue, Mayor?
Oh, you go right ahead. Councilor Clark, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I should wait for the motion. I apologize.
Okay. Wait, we'll do the motion first.
Do the motion first. And then, okay. I move to adopt Resolution 5170, authorizing institution of proceedings in eminent domain for the acquisition of property interest for the Commerce Street Connector Path and Bridges project.
Second. Moved and seconded. Councilor Clark?
Thank you, Mayor. My comment about this, and the reason I will vote no, is because the ends don't always justify the means for me. And in this particular case, I agree with the project. I know that the property owner is in favor and fine with selling, but they have not been able, the staff has not been able to conclude a sale in an appropriate amount of time. And I think it's because of the difficulty in getting the current owner to move at the pace they need him to. But that being said, the only reason we're forcing this issue and doing the sale by taking it is because our grant will run out. And our losing access to the planned ways to fund it isn't sufficient reason for me to force a property sale on someone, especially a willing seller. So I won't be voting in favor.
Councilor Brown.
Well, I've got some questions about this. There's no, it's not paginated in the packet, so, but it's the background on the first page. In the last paragraph, it says, both parties reached an agreement as to compensation on April 25th, 2016. And I wonder what that means, because then I look at the resolution itself, and item D says staff has contacted the property owners and delivered an offer to purchase, but an agreement has not yet been reached.
So I've spoken with several of you since the AAS was submitted, and things have constantly changed with this project. So we started the conversation with the property owner almost 3 years ago, and we did have an agreement to construct it in the property rights this past summer, and I think that's dealing with that paragraph. So we had reached agreement, but we weren't able to secure the permits necessary to build the project from the Corps of Engineers and from the Division of State Lands. So that's why we restarted the negotiations with the intent to build it next summer. And what's happened in the last few days is that there's 3 parcels altogether. 2 of them are part of owned by a local or a limited liability company that are controlled by the Marvin family. The 3rd parcel is jointly owned by Phil and Joan Marvin. So Phil Marvin just this past Friday signed as representative of the limited liability company. So we have all the property rights for those 2 parcels, and he signed for the parcel that he jointly owns with his wife, but his wife has not signed. So we don't have all the property rights we need to build the project, and because of the time constraints in the Connect Oregon grant, it's still important to move forward with the condemnation resolution, because as I said just a second ago, this conversation has been going on for almost 3 years, so it's.
Okay.
And I'm optimistic we will get there, but the risk of losing it's almost to $1.5 million of Connect Oregon funding.
Yes, the timing is real critical on this. I appreciate that. Okay, then I had another question on the second page. It says, the authorization of the condemnation provides further documentation to property owners regarding income tax benefits available to them when properties are sold under the threat of condemnation per the relevant IRS code. So are these, this is the part I don't understand, are these tax benefits available only under threat of condemnation, or
that's my understanding.
A little unclear here. I see. Okay, well, I didn't have time to look at the IRS code, so I don't know exactly what the income tax benefits are, but I imagine they're probably significant. But you have said, so there's just a problem with one party, one half of one property.
At this point, that's the issue. Yep.
Who had previously agreed, or changed their mind?
Right. Well, I don't know. It's. I don't think that it's a matter of changing their mind. It's a matter of this not being of importance.
I see.
To push it forward. They've
But
got many other things going on in their lives.
Yeah, I understand how that works. Believe me. Okay, but But they were happy with the price. Initially, all parties were happy with what we were offering. Okay, thank you very much, Mark.
Councilor Pryor is coming up, but I wanted to ask this just to follow up to Councilor Brown's question. So did the party that hasn't signed, express concerns or opposition?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I haven't been dealing, it's been our real property officer that has been dealing directly with the property owner, but he's been working with the husband, so I'm not aware of the spouse being opposed to the project or the transaction.
Councilor Pryor?
Yeah, thanks. Just for clarification, when we talked, I think you said this, but as you said, in the last few days, some things have changed. But I want to make sure that some of the things we had talked about have not changed. For example, that this has been going on continuously, basically, for 3 years. In fact, you just had contact recently with them, so this is not a surprise to anybody.
That's correct.
Okay. And that the parties that are involved are what you would characterize as willing sellers. They may not have had the time to do everything, but nobody is opposing the sale.
That's correct.
Okay, third question. The amount of money that is being offered to the property is fair and reasonable based on an assessment of the property.
That's true.
So the city is not somehow gouging them and taking their property and not giving them due compensation.
No.
Okay. And the last question then is, the effect of this condemnation of it, and I understand it's really what it is an easement on their property to provide for a path construction.
Correct. The permanent easement and also a temporary construction easement.
Okay, but this does not impact the developability or value of the remainder of the property.
That's correct.
Okay, so they can still develop and use and build on the balance of this property.
Yes.
Okay, so we're only condemning a piece that we need for this particular use. We're giving them fair compensation. We've been dealing with this for a significant amount of time. They are willing sellers, and that if we don't do this in a timely fashion, the money that we would use to pay for it, which is grant money, would go away.
That's correct.
I think those are all reasons why I don't see why this is not an acceptable deal to do.
Okay, I think we're ready. Thank you. Councilor Taylor?
My question is, are we doing the condemnation so that they can get a good tax deal?
No, we're doing the condemnation because of the critical timeliness of encumbering the grant money.
They want us to do it so that they can get a good, or one person wants us to do it so that they can get a tax advantage. Is that correct?
That's not my understanding of it. That's just a consequence of passing a condemnation resolution, is that they're eligible for that benefit under the IRS code.
And if we don't pass this, they won't sell then? Are you saying that?
Not in a timely manner.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're ready to vote on this. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Councilor Clark.
Nope.
5 to 1, it passes. Thank you all. Thank you, Mark. Okay, next up, Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to put forward, oh gee, I don't have a number. Anyway, it's the resolution.
5171.
5171 is a resolution declaring the City of Eugene's support of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's opposition to the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline. And I would just like to read the resolution.
You moved it, Councilor Brown?
Yes.
And you seconded it. All
Okay,
right, please.
thank you. The resolution reads as follows. The City Council of the City of Eugene finds that A, the City of Eugene, Oregon, built upon the traditional homelands of the Kalapuya people, honors the inherent sovereignty of the 9 federally recognized tribal nations in the state of Oregon, as well as the sovereignty of indigenous peoples everywhere. B, on March 14th, 2016, the City Council passed Resolution Number 5148, declaring the second Monday of each October as Indigenous Peoples Day in the City of Eugene, as an opportunity to celebrate the thriving cultures and values of Indigenous peoples in our region. C, the proposed Dakota Access Pipeline, DAPL, is a 1,168-mile, 30-inch diameter pipeline being developed by Energy Transfer Partners and its affiliates, which would carry as much as 570,000 barrels per day of Bakken crude from western North Dakota to Illinois. D, the DAPL would run across or beneath 209 rivers, creeks, and tributaries, including the Missouri River, which provides drinking water and irrigates agricultural land in communities across the Midwest, serving nearly 10 million people. E, the U.S. Department of Transportation's Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration has documented a yearly average of 560 pipeline leaks, ruptures, and other serious incidents spanning the last 20 years. F, the DAPL will also run through the ancestral lands and waters reserved for the traditional use of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe by the Treaty of Fort Laramie, including the Missouri River, burial grounds and grave sites, and other sacred sites of cultural, religious, and historic significance. G, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers failed to consult with or obtain the free, prior, and informed consent of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe as required by the Treaty of Fort Laramie and by Executive Order number 13175 before issuing a mitigated finding of no significant impact that would result in an easement for horizontal drilling of the DAPL. H, the city councils of Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, St. Paul, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota, the Northwest affiliated tribes, comprised of 59 nations, and nearly 200 other indigenous nations in the United States and Canada are among the governmental bodies that have taken formal action to support the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe and oppose the DAPL. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Eugene, a municipal corporation of the state of Oregon, as follows. Section 1. The City Council declares its support of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's opposition to the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline across the tribe's ancestral lands, waters, and sacred sites. Section 2. The City Council calls upon the United States and the Army Corps of Engineers to obtain the free, prior, and informed consent of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe before taking any action regarding the DAPL that would harm the tribe's ancestral lands, waters, and sacred sites. Section 3. The City Council proclaims that October 10th, 2016, this year's Indigenous Peoples Day in the City of Eugene, will commemorate and support the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's opposition to the Dakota Access Pipeline.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Poling?
Thank you. I am going to vote in support of this resolution, but I would just like to make it clear that there's a couple of things in here that I want to point out. In Section E, where it says the U.S. Department of Transportation's pipeline hazardous materials documented a yearly average of 560 pipeline leaks, ruptures, and other serious incidents spanning the last 20 years. Having worked with hazardous materials in previous occupations, I realized that a leak could be 1 or 2 drops. So the definition of pipeline leaks to me is kind of ambiguous in this. The other thing I'd like to point out is that my family has a long history of not only supporting the Native Americans, both in Oklahoma and in California. It goes all the way back to my grandfather. Plus, my wife, in fact, has some Native American in her family. I learned this from my father, who passed it down from his father and his my father's great-grandfather. We have a great deal of respect for the Native Americans, their customs, their traditions. So to me, by crossing the sacred grounds, the tribal grounds, is very offensive. So to me, it's easy for me to support this, not that it's opposing the pipeline altogether, because I feel that in order to have renewable resources, it's not only going to take solar and wind, but it's also going to continually to take some of the natural resources out of the ground. I am opposed to the pipeline crossing the Native American lands. I'm also kind of disappointed with the fact that the Army Corps of Engineers failed to consult with or obtain the free, prior, and informed consent of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. And I agree that before any further action, that they need to contact the Standing Rock Sioux tribe to get the permission to move forward with this. So based on all that, based on my family's long-standing support for the Native Americans and what they've done for the Native Americans over the years, I will support this resolution, and not because I'm opposing the pipeline altogether.
Thank you, Councilor Folling.
Thank you, Mayor, please.
Now, go ahead, Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I find the positioning of this and the last issue interesting. For me, this is a very similar issue. Ends don't justify the means. I, too, am in favor of the idea of domestic energy development because I'd rather keep that money here than send it to other countries, personally. But a deal is a deal. And I don't believe that these folks have been given the respect they deserve, and I don't believe that in this process our government is honoring its own word. My great-great-grandmother also is a member of the Montana Blackfoot tribe, and I was told recently that many, many members of that tribe are on site right now. So who knows, I might even have distant family members who were there. But I stand in support with them, mostly because they haven't been paid anywhere near the respect that they're due, and we haven't kept our word.
Thank you, Councilor Clark.
Thank you.
I think we're ready to vote on this. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Councilor Clark?
Yes.
6 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. Thank you. Okay, on to the next item. Use of marijuana tax funds and retail cannabis regulations work session. City Manager.
I'll just ask our city attorney to start us off.
So this work session is a continuation of your September 14th work session, and an opportunity for you to further discuss how you might want to express your intent regarding the use of potential funds from the local 3% marijuana tax. And at your September 14th work session, Glenn laid out for you some of the options you would have in expressing your intent, resolution, motion, ordinance. This is an opportunity for you to further talk about those and to give some direction to us if there is a document that you need to come back to you.
Looking around. Councilor Brown.
Chris is first.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'll be fairly brief. I mean, we've discussed this at some detail before. Is this for something that would be on the ballot measure? So there would be is that the idea, or so we would be giving the voters? It's too late for that. I see. Okay. Well, I'll just reiterate kind of along the general lines of what I said last time. I think that most of this should go, I would like to see for most of it to go for human services, in particular housing, in the form of, maybe give more to the Human Service Commission for Housing First projects and a mixture of Housing First projects and more rest stops, and just pay for the porta potties and the dumpsters. I would like to see more money go to Occupy Medical. They're doing fabulous work with one of the most vulnerable populations in town. Councilor Pryor spoke about the community courts last time, and I think that's a good idea too. So I think, and I don't know exactly where that would go. I mean, some of these funds could go to Human Service Commission, but be earmarked for a specific use, perhaps. So I think the community courts need to be supported also. I think that's would be a very good. There's so many. Gee, take your pick. There's so many different things that could use an infusion of money. It's hard to know where to start. But I just look at some of the most intractable problem. And I think it's too many people with no safe place to stay, that just by that very fact, and no ill will on their intent, is putting pressure on so many other city services, from parks to downtown to, so I don't know. I would really favor the money going to projects like that. Thank you.
Councilor Pryor.
May I get in the queue, please?
Yes. I've got Pryor, then Poling, and Clark.
What I mentioned at the last meeting was it would be nice if we could make some sort of a motion or pass something that indicated our intention with regard to the money. And I agree with a lot of what Councilor Brown is saying. I would like to keep the list fairly straightforward and fairly simple, so that somebody who saw this motion could see very clearly, back to the notion of clarity again, what exactly it is we would intend to do with this money. And as I said before, the community court is a brand new system that is a city system. It's part of the city municipal court system. So I think providing some stability to their ongoing operation would be tremendously beneficial to us. I think it has a huge human service payoff, but not through the Human Service Commission, because it's a city function. So that would be the first on my list, is the the City of Eugene community court system, and part of the money would go for that. Now, I also agree that we should solidify our support for the Human Services Commission. And so I think the second use of that money would be to support human services. And we could, as we give this money to the Human Services Commission, it is perfectly within our purview to be able to say for use such as. And one of those things might be for use in providing additional shelter or for housing or something like that, so that they would know as this additional money came through that this was what our intention was to use it, but still go through the human service system. In my experience, our challenge with rest stops is not necessarily the amount of money. They could always use a little bit more, but it's finding locations seems to be the biggest challenge. I know I've proposed 2 or 3, and others of us have proposed them, and we just can't seem to find a place for it. I would like to be able to say, once we do find locations, we can provide some additional support for them, but we got to find the places first. And then the third thing on my list would be to say, it deals with parks, which could use a lot of help, but would provide for additional safety and security for our parks. So I would say those would be the 3 things that I would want to make into a motion to say, if the marijuana tax passes, the money would be earmarked for use in supporting the City of Eugene Municipal Court, additional underwriting for human services, including the Human Services Commission, and then we could earmark money within that, and then the remainder would be used to support increased safety and security in our parks. That would be the kind of motion I would want to see.
Councilor Poling.
Thank you. I agree 100% with Councilor Pryor. I like the suggestions, primarily the community court and the security and safety and security within our parks. Not only have we had testimony tonight, but we're starting to see an increase of emails from across the city, from people from across the city complaining about the conditions, unsafe conditions in our parks. And it's about time we did something to help correct that. So I would be very much in support of a motion if Councilor Pryor were to put it out. My only concern is trying to figure out how much, because we don't know, how much goes to which one of these 3, because we don't know what we're going to be getting back. It's just a big estimate at this point. So I don't know how we would do that. So.
But I would suggest if you make a motion, for example, if it's those 3 items, municipal court, park security, and human services, then what we would do is take that as direction and guidance as we put together our budget. And so, as you know, we don't know how much will actually come in, particularly we don't have any experience. And so the first year is going to be a pretty conservative, but after a year we'll have some experience. And what we will do as part of that budget process, in the budget I present to you would say, we estimate X amount of dollars coming in through this particular source. Here's how we would propose spending it, given if your direction is those 2, 3, here's how we would propose spending it on items that relate to those 3 specific types of initiatives. And then it would go through the budget process, and ultimately the council would approve the actual amount and what it's actually then being spent on.
Councilor Clark, and then Evans, and then Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Manager, do I remember accurately that the estimation is somewhere between 200 and 600,000 first year?
That's our estimate to date. That's correct.
Do you happen to know, I don't know if you have budget staff there, if Sue is there, do you happen to know the estimate for the total annual cost of community court?
I don't. We can try to provide some information. So the community court right now is being implemented. First small kind of pilot. We want to expand the capacity for that whole system. And that whole system, as you know, has social service elements to it, human services, as well as capacity in the court itself, which could be prosecution and court time and those kinds of things. And so it's trying to add capacity to that whole system. I don't know what that a full build out would look like. And we probably won't know that until we have some experience with it over the next 6 to 12 months.
Okay. I guess I would say that, well, actually one other question. Again, I don't know if Sue is there, but
Sue is not there.
Sue is not here. So.
Okay. I know that there was a PERS meeting on September 14th. Do we happen to have any idea what our PERS hole will be that we're going to need to fill come the spring?
What I would say is, and as you know, being on a budget committee for a long time, that PERS as well as everything else will just get wrapped up into a total forecast. And what we don't know yet is if there will be any sort of a gap in our forecast moving forward. We won't know that until November, December, which is generally when we have the information to come back and share with the budget committee. So we don't know the impact of PERS on the total budget yet.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure that my colleagues read the newspapers and are aware of the fact that that number is rising at a vociferous rate on the statewide level, and it will certainly impact us the same. So since we don't know, and we won't be making actual budget decisions until the spring, and the different committee in the spring can decide whatever it wants in actual spending, I would suggest that what we're trying to decide with saying this is really only so that it affects the election. And that's fine. I'm happy to go along with the motion as it's been discussed, I suppose. But I would suggest that if it's strictly for the purposes of the election, it would be easier and more successful, in my opinion, if we limited it to community courts, because I think that the general public would understand that association more clearly, especially when some of the monies that we spend in human services go outside the city of Eugene. So it's just advice, I guess. Thank you.
Councilor Evans.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to echo Councilor Poling and Councilor Pryor's remarks about where this money should go. I've always said community court is something that we need to support, we need to fund. Also parks, and I've received communications from members of my ward and residents in my ward that have been very supportive of monies going to parks, and particularly to, the maintenance of the parks and safety in the parks as well. Human services, I would agree with the caveat that if we are going to run that money through potentially through the Human Services Commission, which I sit on, that money be segregated coming back to the city of Eugene, because I would like to make sure that if the citizens of Eugene pass this, ordinance, that monies that whatever revenues that we get back in it come back directly into the city of Eugene and not end up, being dispersed elsewhere, through whatever format we decide to go with. But those are the three areas that I would support, and those would be the That would be the only caveat or, codicil I would have to supporting human services, to make sure those human services are supported within the city limits of Eugene.
Councilor Taylor.
Oh, the manager had.
I can wait until after Betty is fine.
Thank you. As I still believe, as I said before, we should not earmark any money that we don't have. If this, and I'm not in favor of doing something to cause people to pass the tax, if they think it's a good idea, they'll vote for it. If, as has been pointed out, we need money for all sorts of things. We need money for an animal shelter, for veterinary care. There's a nice dog in the room. It might need some money. I'm serious. If there should be free veterinary care for people who can't afford it. But there are lots of things. I don't think we should just suddenly decide we're going to get some more money and we'll spend it on this and this and this. As things come up that are needed, I think we should have serious discussions and listen to the public also. If we have excess money, there are plenty of things we could do with it. But I think the money should go into the general fund. Therefore, I will vote against, if there is money, I will vote against any motion to designate it. Not because I'm against those things necessarily, but I don't think we should just off the cuffs decide we'll do this and this. Reminds me of people, I said this before, if you had $1 million, what would you do with it? And you, suddenly, that's all. Thanks.
Just one thought on the Human Services and Community Court. Our intention would not be to provide all of the human services ourselves. So actually through the Community Court, money could go through the Human Services Commission. And as we're essentially contracting for some of those services, which also may help with the accountability that we can create back to that they're spent here in Eugene. So
I'll just add.
Mayor, can I put it on?
Yes, you can. I just want to just clarify that we actually do have a low to no cost vet program for homeless people. It's called Pro Bono and is located next to the service station out on 99.
I didn't say just homeless. I said people who could. I meant people who can't afford it, not just homeless.
At any rate, Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. If there's going to be a vote, I suppose I have to say something difficult and painful, which is that Betty convinced me to change my mind. I agree with her that we're not actually going to be allocating funds. We're just going to be talking about intent, and we should let the general public decide the question on their own. So I suppose if there was a motion, I would vote against it as well.
Well, here comes.
But not that I would support community courts, obviously, and in the budget process, I would support use of that money for it. I just don't think I could. I don't think I could justify saying in advance that that's what we're going to pre-direct that money for.
Councilor Pryor, you want to put a motion out?
I do, and I would preface it by saying, as I mentioned during the work session, one of my interests is clarity, and I'll add to that intentionality. And I think both of those are served by saying what you intend to do. And to say we want to put this tax on the ballot, but we're not going to tell you how we're going to spend the money, just kind of trust me. I wouldn't give money to my sister if she asked me, just give me some money and I'll decide what to do with it. Intention is extremely important, and I would want this to go beyond the election. I would want to send the intention that this is truly what we want to spend the money on. I'm not just doing it because I want to pass an election. I see this as an opportunity to support three very important things. And to me, these are three very important things. So with the desire for clarity and intention in mind, I move that if the marijuana tax passes, the money be dedicated for use in the community courts, the Human Services Commission, in such a way, as we have done in the past, that we ensure services delivered with this money be delivered to the city of Eugene, and increases in security and safety in our parks.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4. In opposition, 1. And Councilor Clark.
I'm a no.
Okay, so it's 4 in favor and 2 in opposition, it passes. So there we are. Did you get enough information about how they want it done? You were asking about the different ordinance or, you know, those kinds of.
Well, what we will do, if the tax passes, then this provides guidance to us as part of the budget process.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.